Carney has just delivered one of the most direct and uncompromising takedowns of an ambassador in recent memory, and the target of his remarks was none other than Ambassador Hoekstra, whose recent statements about Canadians have sparked outrage across the political spectrum and ignited a national conversation. It all began when Hoekstra, speaking in a televised discussion, referred to Canadian policies and people in ways that many considered dismissive, disrespectful, and downright insulting, suggesting that Canada lacked the global influence and seriousness to be taken as a major partner on the world stage, words that instantly triggered backlash online and across Canadian media, with hashtags condemning the remarks trending within hours and prominent figures demanding accountability. Stepping into this storm, Carney wasted no time in responding, delivering a passionate and precise statement that not only defended Canadians but also directly challenged Hoekstra's credibility, with his words cutting sharply as he accused the ambassador of spreading misguided and demeaning rhetoric that had no place in modern diplomacy, and reminding everyone listening that Canada's history, values, and global contributions stand as proof that this country has earned respect, not ridicule. Carney's rebuttal was not just about defending Canada in the moment. It was framed as a broader rejection of arrogance and disrespect in international affairs, and his tone carried a mix of anger and conviction that resonated with audiences who felt that Canada had been slighted unfairly. What made the speech even more powerful was Carney's ability to pivot from criticism to pride, listing Canada's sacrifices in wars, its leadership in peacekeeping, its economic innovation, and its role in fostering alliances that have shaped the modern global order, effectively turning Hoekstra's criticism into an opportunity to showcase why Canada matters more than the ambassador seemed willing to admit. This moment quickly became more than a diplomatic spat. It became a symbol of national pride, with Canadians across provinces sharing clips of Carney's statement and praising him for standing tall against an insult that might otherwise have been brushed aside. But what truly set the moment apart was the sense of authenticity, because Carney wasn't simply reading off notes, he was visibly moved, his voice tightening with emotion as he reminded everyone that Canadians are not only partners on the world stage but also contributors whose work, sacrifices, and spirit cannot be erased with careless remarks. As the news spread, commentators began calling the exchange a turning point in the diplomatic relationship, with some analysts suggesting that Carney had struck a chord not only in Canada but internationally, since other nations too have often felt patronized or diminished by similar rhetoric from larger powers. The ambassador, for his part, has found himself in an increasingly difficult position, with calls mounting for clarification, retraction, or even apology, though so far he has remained mostly silent as criticism continues to mount. Meanwhile, Carney's words have been replayed in television studios, shared across social networks, and clipped into viral segments where his fiery delivery and uncompromising stance have become rallying cries for those who want to see leaders stand up against disrespect. For Canadians, the speech served as a reminder of the strength of national identity and the importance of defending it, particularly when it feels under attack, and many have compared this moment to earlier times in Canadian history when leaders stood firm against larger powers, reinforcing the image of Canada as a nation that refuses to be silenced or belittled. Beyond the politics, this story has also struck an emotional chord because it speaks to a universal truth: no community, no nation, no people want to see themselves disrespected without reply, and Carney's willingness to push back has given voice to that instinct for dignity and respect. The broader implications, however, remain to be seen, as diplomatic watchers are already speculating on how this will affect relations between Ottawa and Washington, with some suggesting it could lead to a cooling of ties in the short term, while others argue that moments like this, though uncomfortable, can ultimately clear the air and reset relationships on more honest terms. What no one can deny is that Carney's words have shifted the narrative dramatically, moving the story from Hoekstra's dismissive comments to Canada's strong defense of its honor and credibility, and in doing so he has reframed Canada not as a target of criticism but as a nation willing to demand respect on its own terms. In the hours since his remarks, Canadian citizens have taken to social media to thank Carney, calling him a defender of national pride, a voice of clarity, and in some cases even a hero for refusing to allow an insult to go unanswered. News outlets outside Canada have also begun covering the exchange, framing it as a lesson in diplomacy and leadership, showing how one sharp response can flip an entire controversy on its head. The power of the moment is not just in what Carney said but in the timing, because he stepped into a conversation at the exact moment when Canadians were feeling wounded and gave them the words they needed to hear, words that affirmed their worth, their history, and their place in the world. In a time when so much of global politics is marked by division and cynicism, this speech stood out as an example of how passion and conviction can cut through the noise and remind people of the values that unite them. Already, headlines are declaring Carney the clear victor in this exchange, with phrases like Carney crushes Hoekstra and Carney defends Canada dominating feeds. And the viral traction shows no sign of slowing down. As for Hoekstra, his silence has only made Carney's voice ring louder, because in the absence of a counter-argument, the ambassador's earlier remarks now look weaker, pettier, and more isolated than ever before. Canadians know this story is far from over, but for now, Carney's intervention has given the country a rallying point, a reminder that in the face of insult or disrespect, Canada has leaders who are not afraid to stand up, speak clearly, and fight for the dignity of their people. And as the clip of his speech continues to spread globally, the world is being reminded of one undeniable truth. When pushed, Canadians will not stay silent, and Carney has ensured that everyone, from ambassadors to world leaders, now knows that Canada's voice cannot be dismissed.